All
Morning,
right,
Joe.
here we go. Good
Good
morning.
morning.
How are you? Or
Good,
good
good.
afternoon, right? It's 12:11.
Oh, yeah, we should say that. Good afternoon. That's
Good
right.
afternoon. Happy Friday.
Same to you. Same to you. So hopefully we won't have rain this weekend. It'll be a great weekend to get out and enjoy
Hmm.
California weather. So today we promised to talk about another aspect of Tijuana Mañana, the anxious iguana. And I was going to share my screen to um, show some of the little activities that I've created that parents, teachers, therapists can use with kids to help reinforce some of the messages in the book. And also, I have included a lot of information that's helpful for the adults so that they have more tools for helping kids when things are hard. And this is like most of the time with the kids I'm working with, things can be feeling overwhelming to them. And so that's why we wrote the book. Um, how can kids learn to do things that are really hard for them and grow from it? Are you ready, Joe?
I'm ready.
Okay. So the first worksheet is, you can see the screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the first worksheet is just kind of, these are not in any particular order, but this is a worksheet that someone could use with a child. So you see in the first picture, Joe's given us a picture of Tijuana Mañana feeling anxious. And so that's sort of like a before. And then you see Tijuana thinking, hey, I can do this. And he's happy because he mastered something. So with a child, you can fill in the blanks. You can do it orally, or you can actually write it down, or the child can write it down. Sometimes practicing sight words makes me feel like Tijuana Mañana, or sometimes brushing my teeth makes me feel like Tijuana Mañana. Like, can't we just skip it for today? And then using some of the tools that we'll talk about today, as well as ones we've talked about before that are in the book, um, we can switch that to Tijuana today. And he's saying, I have tools now so I can feel like Tijuana today. Here's what I can do. So the child could draw a picture, they can write down ideas of things they can do. An adult can help them. So that's just a way to think through something to reinforce. And then this is, again, some people practice with flashcards, but I had in mind something, certainly that's fine to do with these. If you laminate it, ideally, you can then put all kinds of things on the back. So cut them out, laminate them, and then you can write spelling words on the back, or you can write math facts, um, sight words, anything that the child would be wanting to practice or needing to practice. And then you can play games like memory or other activities that, oh, do you have any math facts that add up to seven, like a go fish game, things like that. So that's what that is for open-ended ideas. This is an activity, not an activity, this is something that hopefully could help adults working with children to help build, like Tijuana, to help build that belief that I can handle doing hard things. So trying to think about reframing how a child might be thinking, which is often, this is too much, I don't want to do this is hard, this is taking too long, this is boring, this is a waste of time, all those kind of messages that I often hear with kids. And so reframing them, here are just some ideas that parents could use to help them reframe a child's words and thinking to something that feels like, oh, I could do this, just like in the story. So some of the ideas that are listed here that I think can be helpful are like I can do hard things when I'm calm, trying my best helps me learn hard things, practicing hard things is easier when I'm having fun. Practice will help me feel more confident. Effort makes my brain grow. I can get used to uncomfortable feelings when I do hard things. I can learn hard things one step at a time. It takes time to learn hard things. Doing hard things is easier when I work with a partner. I will just do it because I'll like how it feels when I accomplish my goal. I can take the first step and the next steps will be a little easier. I want to see myself being successful with help and practice. And tomorrow, this is from the other book we've worked on together, Mission Control, A Big Feelings Adventure. Tomorrow I will be a day older and more practiced, and doing hard things will be just a little easier. So that's a lot to choose from. If I ask kids, maybe don't give them all of these choices, but I might pick 3 choices and say, do any of these feel like things that could help you? And they can usually pick out something that sort of resonates with them, helps them feel like, okay, I can do the hard thing. Of course, all these have to be at the right moment when kids are available to be thinking about this, just like mom had to help Tijuana get past the fight or flight mode and into a state where he could be thinking about, okay, I can start moving toward doing what you've asked me to do. And that is to practice sight words. So, Joe, in your experience with kids at school, do any of these feel like ones that you think would be particularly helpful in a classroom?
Oh, let's see. Um, Definitely it takes time to learn hard things.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Effort makes my brain grow.
Yeah.
That's always, and the practice will help me feel more confident.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think that those are all things that are so intangible and not immediate. So it's really hard for kids, I think, to wrap their minds around that there's something positive coming from this hard work in this moment. So we can say it, it can be in their heads, we can reinforce it, we can repeat it, and eventually hope that they will take it in. But I think that it's really hard to actually understand that concept because it's a little abstract for kids, I think. So here's just a fun activity, very simple maze, but the idea is taking the child through the steps in the story so moving from being totally in freeze mode, hiding like that, and feeling threatened by the hawk, and then having his mom sort of talk him through and helping him sort of shift his thinking from once he understands that that's how your brain works, because we talked a lot about that in the other sessions that we've met, and how he's able to then come to the point where he feels like, I can do this. I'm Tijuana today. I have tools. I have belief in myself. I can see my future self doing some of these hard things. And I can imagine being able to think about being like older kids who are doing reading and enjoying it. But again, this is sort of what I'm saying. Like there's a little bit of a leap of faith there that he can get there because today I can do this, and that's one step in that direction. But to just say, oh yeah, if I practice enough, I'm going to be just like the big kids when they're reading, that's a lot for kids to take on. This is just a little worksheet that parents, teachers, therapists could use with kids. This is when his mom is talking about what are all the hard things that you've learned to do already, and what are some ways that you can come up with that would help you. And so Tijuana in the book, we see a picture of Tijuana counting by tens. We see him taking Buster for a walk. We see him thinking about his upstairs brain and his downstairs brain working together. So this is very individual. Other kids might have completely different things to put in their little thought bubbles. They can draw them in, they can write them in, whatever, but just to try to personalize it, customize it to the child. These are things that Tijuana did. You can be like Tijuana and do the same thing. What ideas do you have that would be helpful for you in growing your brain? So we did a little about this in another episode about what to do when things seem like too much. And there's always reasons that a child might be feeling overwhelmed, because if there weren't reasons, they'd just do it. And so this is a long list of reasons why a child might be struggling to do something that to them feels like too hard, too much. So lack of confidence, not having a growth mindset, but having a fixed mindset about, I can't do those hard things kind of thinking versus what we're talking about reframing with those other kinds of affirmations, other ways of thinking through things that we just listed. That's growth mindset. Kids don't like to hear no, we're not going to play, we're not going to keep being on the video game. It's time to do something else. So disappointments, not wanting to lose a game can be reasons why kids can feel like things are too much. Transitions can make things hard for kids, stopping something that they like and moving into starting something they don't like. The basics of just being tired and hungry, sometimes just having a limited diet. They're not getting what they need because they might be picky eaters or have another reason, sensory reason, or even other reasons why their diets might be limited. They might be impulsive, having a hard time slowing down. Their academic skills might be lagging, and other skills, some of which we're talking about now. Not having enough agency, feeling like people are always telling me what to do. I want to have some choices. I want to make some decisions for myself. And just not having the tools yet for knowing how to regulate. So that's part of what this book and the other book, Mission Control of Big Feelings Adventure, are about. Having a busy schedule, busy on the weekends, busy all day long, after school activities, make kids not having enough time to just do what they want to do, and having difficulty with attention, staying focused, getting distracted, sustaining attention, persevering through a difficult activity. Hard to wait is a big one. So many kids have so much difficulty sticking to something or having to wait about anything. They sometimes feel things are not fair. My big brother doesn't have to do this work. Why do I have to? Or my younger brother doesn't have to do this. Why do I have to? And then just emotional distress in general, like a heavy backpack full of emotions, and maybe not having enough quality sleep, getting up at night and going into the parents' bedroom because they don't know how to get themselves back to sleep. Not having enough connection with a primary caregiver, just shortage of time, not getting outdoors for play and exercise. And with busy schedules, that can sometimes happen. Not having enough time for free play and fun. That's what I'm hearing a lot about lately from kids. And then just having a fast-paced life. Like, hurry, we got to go kind of thing on top of it, which is a little bit like a busy schedule, but it's really like we've just back to back with activities and we can't be late because then it's like a domino effect. So kids feel that pressure of being rushed. So again, Joe, can I ask you, like, out of these, certainly you see lagging academic skills. Sometimes at school would be a reason why kids would feel like they needed to run away from something or hide or fight back about something, argue with someone about something. But what and feeling overwhelmed, I can see all those could be really big things for school. But what else do you think is you see a lot at school? I can't hear you, Joe. You're not muted, but I know you're trying. It looks like the same problem as last week. I'll let you work on it. We can come back to it. Um, the next handout for adults is when kids are feeling that they are in danger, they feel threatened for some reason, and they are likely to go into fight or flight or freeze. I've listed there the three things that you might see. So if a child is in fight mode, they are facing perceived threat, uh, um, and responding to it aggressively. So of course, there are times when it might actually be a threat, but generally not in a home, in a school setting. That's usually perceived, but true for them. And then in flight, a person might respond to the perceived danger by running from it Or in freeze, a person might not be able to move or act even against a perceived threat. So we know about possums and how they play dead, that kind of idea. And so some examples that maybe aren't so obvious, like throwing, kicking, arguing, refusing, hiding under a bed or a table, running out of the classroom, refusing, well, not refusing, but not talking, holding one's breath. All those kinds of things are things that are pretty obvious that a child's in fight or flight and struggling. But some of the less obvious ones I've listed there that I see with kids that say, I need help, is really what they're saying. I'm feeling threatened. I mean, the child is certainly not in the moment recognizing there's not really a threat, but they can feel that way. And so their brain reacts that way. And so they are in need of someone to help them in that moment. So some things that you might see are excessive fidgeting, eyes darting, glaring, spitting, whining, speaking in a baby voice, growling, yelling no or stop or other hurtful words. You can see some physiological changes, sweating, flushing. The child can be restless, daydreaming, using a loud voice, having a stiff body, having big body movements, making noises but not using words, not answering you or an adult or a peer, laughing, even though like that, laughing and crying are close. Sometimes it's hard to know. We laugh when we know it's not appropriate, but that's what sometimes comes out. Acting silly, a limp body, or saying something like, I can't, or this is boring, or this is going to take forever, I don't know how, or this will never end, or I'm done, or sighing, talking off topic, trying to divert attention from the activity, staring blankly ahead, mumbling, making faces, acting helpless, using potty words, using nonsense talk, running around, screaming, rolling around on the ground, grunting, noises, squirming away, scribbling or ripping up paper if they're frustrated with like a visual motor activity. So those are kinds of things that I see in a session or in my social skills groups. And I recognize those things as just signs of distress and needing help. Joe, do you want to try again, see if you're,
Can you hear me
oh,
now?
yeah, you can, good.
Okay.
So any
Um,
comments about this or the previous one that you wanted to make about
yeah.
school?
Um, One thing I noticed in in my classes was the fixed mindset, and
Uh-huh.
they were just determined that they weren't going to learn. Or I always used to say, even, and this is where we're in the beginning stages of the mission control book, that talking about having self-control and uh, being able to express themselves, but a lot of times they took it to another level. And some kids were like really, really super like out of control. But then you had some other ones that just did not want to learn. Like they were a fixed mindset. They didn't want to learn new things.
Mhm,
And that was an opportunity for me to help them get over that. And because I just had high expectations for these kids, it's like,
mhm,
this is going to be fun. You're going to learn something new. But a lot of the times I'm looking at this screen now, the fidgeting, they just, crossed arms was a huge one.
mhm, mhm,
And the whining, crying,
uh-huh, uh-huh,
and because I was mostly for the younger grades, like kindergarten, first grade. Um, but as they got older, was just not listening to directions.
mhm,
And I'll never forget in eighth grade doing computer classes, and they were just completely defiant. Like they
mhm,
didn't think that anything. It was not so much computer classes, but it was we were doing STEAM classes.
uh-huh,
So I'd always try to figure out some kind of project that would just be kind of a group setting where they could just work together. And there were a few that they're just like this attitude, like
Mm.
this is beneath me.
Oh,
And I would attribute that to more of a fixed mindset, wouldn't you, Nan? I mean, would that be more of a fixed mindset kind of response? Like, I'm not going to do this.
it might be fear-based, which is often part of fixed mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, probably because it was a drawing. A lot of it were drawing projects, and
Oh,
maybe they were afraid of maybe they couldn't draw,
yeah. Yeah.
and they didn't want to be embarrassed because they were
Right.
more of like kind of like I wouldn't say like the tough guys or the other boys would look up to these guys, and those are the ones that were more defiant, not wanting
Uh-huh.
to do the project.
Uh-huh.
So maybe
Yeah,
that has something to do with it.
I
Like
think
maybe
so. Yeah.
their self-esteem
Hmm.
or they were insecure, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So the
it's just
protective behaviors,
yeah,
you know, because they don't want to be embarrassed, like you
no,
said. Yeah. So I think, yeah, that might be what you saw, especially at that age group. They're so much more aware of what
right,
others might say,
yeah,
I think.
exactly,
Yeah. Oh, those are great examples. Thanks, Joe.
yeah,
On this one, this is to help adults know how to help kids. So Joe, you just did a great job of thinking through like what could make a child feel this way or be acting this way. And um, I've listed some things that can make it easier for a child, and that is that an adult could do. First of all, is the adult, as you were, Joe, already regulated yourself. You're already thinking, what can I do to help this child? Clearly, they're in distress. Helping them take a deep breath, holding yourself with compassion in that moment. Like, I might not know exactly what to do, but I can show that I care, which you're so great at, Joe, with the kids. And then what I like to think about is when kids are little and a child falls and skins their knee, a parent jumps in right away and says, "Oh, are you okay? That must have hurt a lot. Let me give you a kiss on it. That's going to make it feel better. Would you like a band-aid? Which one would you like?" Have all kinds of empathy for the child, and the child understands, like, you really care about what happened to me, and you're taking care of me. And I try to say to the parents I'm working with, can you find that same empathy for a child, even though they're doing something that's not a physical accident or injury, but an emotional one, because they need the same response still from us. And I think that's what you're describing as well, Joe. Like, I see the pain, I see the fear, I see that this is really hard. I'm here to help.
yeah,
And then also just getting your needs as an adult met so that you aren't feeling stressed. You're not feeling like you have to get out the door. You're not feeling like, oh no, here we go again. But that you're coming from a place of, I see what my child needs, and my child doesn't have the tools, but I do. I'm an adult. I've been reading Nan's books and Joe's books and getting tools and help. And so I actually do have the ability to be open to helping my child in this moment and putting aside for a minute the grocery list and getting out the door because my child needs me right now. That's a hard one. That's a really hard one. Parents share that with me. And then sometimes, though, a more fun way, of course, is kind of front loading our kids so that they are already connected with us. They're gone all day from school. They come back. There has to be a connection time again. They've been disconnected during the day. And how do we help them connect so that if there is something that you need to do to direct them in a different way than what they want to do, it's more likely that they will go ahead and do what you're asking them to do because they're already connected with you and want to stay connected with you. So there's a phrase, connect before correct, something like that. Same idea.
mm,
Kids are more likely to do what you are asking them to do if they feel like you've done some of the things on the list. So spending uninterrupted time with your child daily, delighting in your child. I love that word, delight in your child. In my therapy, I've come to truly delight in each child as an individual and think, wow, what a marvel this child is. So different. There's nobody else like that. And really, really see the spark in them, to see the joy in them, to see who they are as a person. Spending time playing with your child, laughing with your child, giving lots of hugs, listening to your child, welcoming and accepting your child's feelings, emotions, slowing things down, being in the moment, and praising. And there's a lot of talk, many people probably already know about praising, but praising like what you want, what you see your child doing that you would like to see them repeat versus just, oh, that's great. But oh, I really like how you stuck to that art project until you had it just the way you liked it. That took a lot of patience, didn't it? Or anything along those lines. And some of the things that I can do, like children feel unsafe sometimes because if you're feeling threatened, you're feeling unsafe. So some things that can help are using a reassuring tone of voice, like, I got this. I know what to do in this moment. I see what you need. Showing confidence, like I just said, you've got the situation under control. Using welcoming and accepting body language on your part, like, come here, let me help you with that. A lot of times, especially in my social skills groups, but also in my individual sessions, when kids are stressed out about something, usually the first words out of my mouth are, I'll help you. I can help solve the problem. I can get the toy back for you, whatever. And it just like the stress level drops dramatically when I do that. Being present, that's in some of these things are in upcoming books. I have a series on keto, who is talking about it gives a lot of support for adults reading the book and trying to help adults understand, like, kids need their parents to be present or their teacher to be present with them as they're living that moment, and taking their time so they don't feel rushed, showing emotional generosity, really listening and validating and soothing. That's a lot of what the book series on keto are about. Those things that adults can do because kids need that calming moment before they can move on and start thinking about how to solve the problem. So, Joe, do you have any thoughts to share on all of this? This is a lot for adults to think about.
Yeah, it is a lot, but it um yeah, it's funny, like with my daughter teaching first grade, um she said that the kids that really do, I want to say, better in her class are the ones that where their parents spend time with them
Mm.
and spend time with them reading and helping them along, like with their writing and like with Tijuana, like sight words, but not necessarily in first grade. But yeah, and she can see, and I know in just my experience, being intentional and giving each child the time and not being there for everyone, being present for all the students, and just
Mm-hmm.
being in, for me, which has always been just being encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great words, intentional and encouraging. I should add
Yeah.
those into the list. Yeah, intentional. And I think that's a word a lot of parents you think about a lot. They do want to be intentional with how they respond. And
Hmm.
sometimes they don't know how. So that's why I'm hoping the list will help. Maybe it's not how there's lots of interpretations for all of these things in the list for families to do it their own special way. But hopefully it'll trigger some thoughts for
Yeah.
families. And then some ways that adults can help the children remember to apply a lesson that they learn for the next time. So if kids can remember, if I can remind them of something that happened last session or something that happened in a different way that can be applied to a situation, it helps them feel encouraged. oh, I could do it in that situation. So a lot of times when I'm working in an individual session with kids, I have them doing gross motor activities, and they're pretty much willing to do that. And they like the challenges because I have a setup where it's sort of like Ninja Warriors, and they like that. And so I look for opportunities in those moments to say things like, wow, at first you tried to climb up that piece of equipment, and you didn't do it. And then you kept coming up with new ideas for how to get up that piece of equipment until you found a way that worked. And now you know how to do it next time too. Then I can take that idea of trying new strategies to other situations that might be fine motor related or getting ready for bed related, so that they understand, oh, I did that in that situation. I can remember that success and apply it again. So some of the ideas that I try to do is sometimes when I'm trying to send information home with families to reinforce at home, or ideas that can be things that families can do at home, is write a note, make a poster, draw a picture, set a timer. Parents can remind kids about something. They can preview what the expectations are. They can say things like, first do the hard thing, then do something fun. Well, maybe not say that, but think that. And adults can add more support for kids. They can think of ways to make hard things a little easier. So we can sort of bring down the level of demand, but we can also support the demand. We can make it more playful for kids. That's a winner with most kids. Can make a progress chart so kids see, oh, I can do this. Mark the off days you practiced. So the author of Atomic Habits, he talks about this idea actually of, I've got 10 in a row when I did this. I don't want to break my winning streak. Maybe it's not called a winning streak, but my streak of X's, I want to keep going because look how many I've already done. So sometimes just that visual and that kind of motivation like that can help kids do things. And remember to repeat it. Doing something with a partner also is a winner. Remember how you did it before. Sometimes rewarding yourself, finding the best time to do something in a day or in a week, being sure you understand what to do, remembering you did it once so you can do it again. That's the one a lot of kids say to themselves. Do it one step at a time. Take the first step. There's also research behind that of like, if you can just take the first step, let's get to the desk and pick up the pencil. Great. Now we're on our way. Make the first step easy. And sometimes I'll start with like, let's do this maze, because every kid likes mazes. And then we'll move into something hard. And maybe I'll end with something fun too, to try to help them get to the table where we're going to do the fine motor work. And then just being prepared. So those are things that help kids learn to generalize from one instance to other instances. And then some of the lifelong messages that and values that you might want to be reinforcing with kids to help them. So I often review from start to finish what a child has done, like a narration. Some of the ideas, I gave an example here of something that you might find helpful and use as a model for other kinds of messages to the kids that help them. These are lifelong messages. These are family values. These are things we want to see in our children. These are things that you might think about. And because it is really hard, I think, for adults to do the things we talked about on a previous page, like be present, think about giving time to your child, listening, all those things. It is hard. But what I like to think about is, what is the longer term goal? What is the big picture goal you have for the child? And so that's what matters. So if we can keep that in mind, I think it makes a difference, because it's not just about getting your shoes on in the moment. It's about building independence, for example, and confidence and problem solving when a child is allowed the time and the support and the encouragement to learn to tie their shoes, or maybe not even tie their shoes, but just get them on with Velcro. So an example is, I see you persevered with your math assignment. I'm wondering if you feel prepared now for your exam. So the message being, well, if you are prepared for things, not just this one math test that's coming up, but the message is preparation makes you feel more confident, makes you feel like you can be okay, doesn't make it lowers your level of anxiety. It makes you realize if I can do it in this situation, I can do it in other situations too. I've had successes. So some of the values, some of the messages that I think parents want to see fostered in their children are things like self-confidence, growth mindset, resiliency, curiosity, bravery, leadership, perseverance, ability to regulate their emotions, have self-control, forgiveness of others, thinking of others, spirituality aspect of things, right and wrong, self-compassion, purpose in their life, purpose in whatever they're doing, loving yourself, gratitude, effort, quality of the work, manners, dreams, respect, thinking skills, mental wellness habits, and giving. So that's probably not, I'm sure it's not a full list of things, but it's again meant to be a starting place for parents to think, what do I want to foster in my children? And if I want those things to happen, what's the path for it? So I'm trying to give sort of a path through these handouts that I've created. But Joe, I know you've raised kids, so they're adults, and I know that you had these things in mind too. And I'm sure they're going to be that they are using these same things that they learned from you and your wife from in their work and their daily life with their friends, with their kids, with your daughter's kids that she's working with. And what do you have other thoughts about all of this?
Um, I mean, there's so many like just good words there, but um, I think for my wife and I raising our kids, and they're in their, in their late 20s now, but um, we're just like very proud of them. Like they are resilient. We set high standards for them, and high expectations. It's like
Mhm.
And realistic goals. That's
Uh-huh.
another thing
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
But having a growth mindset and having that self-confidence and having the resiliency and perseverance is was like, I think, I guess words that we really kind of tried to apply,
Mhm.
in raising them. And they're both, I want to say, successful adults. They have their careers, and they're people that, you know we just love hanging with them.
Yeah.
It's just fun to see. Now we're in that, different season of life,
Mhm.
and to seeing how the work that we put into them was it was hard, but it was just totally worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's it. That's the long range view. That's where everyone wants to be
yeah.
with
Yeah.
their children down the road. Yeah. Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
great encouragement, Joe.
Yeah.
And then I just added some fun in here. This is one of the iguanas that I saw on my trip to the Galapagos, and he's the inspiration behind Tijuana Mañana. And then there's Sally Lightfoot crab, and they were around a lot. And I just love, like, they're bright red, they're so colorful, easy to find. And I don't know why they're not better camouflaged than that. I guess they don't need to be. And anyway, he's an inspiration in the story too, because we talk about Krabby like bothering people, and his mom says something to him about changing that behavior when he gets stressed, taking some breaths. And then this is just step-by-step drawing of Tijuana. And then I made a bingo game for practicing sight words. So to try to make it more fun, can you read your sight words under the covers with a flashlight? Can you stand on one foot and practice your sight words? Can you do it with a pet? Read the sight words with an animal, a stuffed animal even. Can you do it in a silly voice, a loud voice, a gruff voice? Can you sing the sight words? Um, can you do the sight words with a family member or a friend? Can you record yourself? Practice it while you're having a healthy snack. Practice it while you're sitting in a comfy chair. Or can you build a pillow for it and practice it in there? Can you swing, holding on with both hands, of course, and practice? Somebody shows you the words and you practice while you're swinging. Can you find a cozy corner to do it in? Can you do it with a partner? Can you do it outdoors somewhere? Can you do it at the kitchen table? Can you play while using memory game, while playing memory game with the cards? Can you toss bean bags at the sight words? Can you listen to music while you're practicing the sight words? Can you decorate the cards to help you remember what the words say? Can you practice at the park? Can you jump along a path of sight words? Can you search for sight words in a sensory bin? Can you look for play tic-tac-toe with words? And the last one I put on was finding sight words in a favorite book. So as I'm reading those, I'm feeling like Sam I Am. Like I could eat it in a train. I can eat it on a plane. Green eggs and ham. But the idea is just like these are some of the things that I might try to do with kids, especially movement. If they are moving, they are much happier about practicing something. And maybe moving on a swing, maybe something like that. But a lot of times it's just allowing them to walk around and just move their bodies, however they want to move their bodies. And they seem to be, sometimes the brain seems to be a little bit powered by their feet and how they are able to do that. And so those are just some ideas to try to make it more fun. And then the last one here is just 3 bubbles that show like how have you grown from practicing hard things. And that's from the book, but again, individualizing it to the child. And then there's a coloring picture of Tijuana, and you could add a background to it. And that's for another week, the next handout, the next visual that I showed you. So hopefully those are things that adults will find useful when they are trying to reinforce the messages in the book after they read it with a child. And these will be available on our website once the book is out for sale on Amazon, which is soon. So I don't know if you have any more that you wanted to share, Joe.
No, not really. You've covered a lot. I really
Yeah.
can't add to it.
Well, I mean, your illustrations are just so inspiring, really, Joe. Like that's what, it makes kids want to learn because of your illustrations to
Oh,
me.
that's
I'm
good.
very grateful for how you are always so thoughtful about what you draw and really can capture because of your experience as a dad, but also your experience as a teacher, really capture the what it's really like for kids, and that makes it
Yeah.
more relevant to kids and makes them feel like I can do that too.
Yeah, it's funny. Like there's just something that happened last week when with some students. It's like you never know what this is going to come out of their mouths. It's like, and it cracks me up. It's like the teacher and I were just I can share it with you offline, but I don't think it's anything that we need to talk about here. But it's just it's just so they're so innocent to a fault,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
I love that.
yeah, and um they're kind of incriminating themselves just by just by being honest. You
Yeah.
ask them a question and you're thinking as an adult, it's like you want to, I think you may not want to reveal that much information, but it's like they're and that's what cracks me up. It's just like you ask them a question and they just spit it out, and I think that's what I like working with the kids. It's like you just never know what's going to come out of their mouths. And but I guess one little thing here with this picture that I drew is actually the one that you had, like we're showing Tijuana being anxious, which is like the cover.
Oh,
And
uh-huh.
I don't know if you have
Yeah, I think I can
access
figure
to
that
it,
out.
but I actually got that pose from, sad to say, but it was a girl that was having an anxiety attack at
Mm,
school. And I had really never seen that in a student at school, but she was so, you cannot get her attention. I mean, she was full blown anxiety attack, and trying to make eye contact with her, that was just not happening.
mm,
But she was against a wall with her arms spread out with that look. I mean,
mhm.
that
Uh,
Tijuana pose
uh,
is her
mm,
basically. And but yeah, I mean, I get a lot of inspiration and like poses and ideas just from working with the kids. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it shows. Yeah,
whether they know it or not.
yeah. Well, and I do too. That's where my ideas for the books come from because they're universal, you know?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we recognize them. People can relate. And because that's real life.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what we write about and draw about.
Yep. Yep.
Real life. Okay, well, thanks again for meeting today.
Yep.
Um, next week, um, I wanted to share a little bit about the journal that goes along with Tijuana and the worksheets that accompany the journal. So how to kind of use
Okay.
the information that we've gone through the last few weeks to actually implement it, go into implementation. So
Sounds good.
I'll look forward to that again next week, Joe. So thank you
All
again.
right, Ann.
All right,
All right.
bye.
Thank you. All right.